It's going to take a long time to go back and work through this. Not happening. It's just another way to say the same thing, and you and I both know they're saying wrong. Anyway, before I lose my voice completely, I thought I was going to do good with the voice today because it's been great this week. But I guess it's just the magnitude of talking. This one's called "Oh God" and Other Prayers. You're on the Bible Forum this holiday weekend. Do you believe in heaven? How about hell? Most people believe in heaven. A large percentage of people don't believe in hell. But there's a bunch of people that don't believe in either one. Have you ever wondered why you hold the position you do? Well, a Harvard professor by the name of Steven Pinker has ventured into this world. He considers belief in an afterlife to be a malignant delusion. Trust me when I tell you, he's not a Christian. He's not even a religious guy in that classic sense of the word. Why does he say this? He says it because he believes that it devalues actual lives and discourages action that would make those lives longer, safer, and happier. He did this on a Twitter account, and the comment drew more than 4,500 responses. I'm sure they were all over the place, but a couple of them said, quote, "People who believe there is no higher power or no consequences in the afterlife are much more willing to commit crimes if they think they can get away with it." Another person said, "My faith in God only increases my appreciation for the value, worth, purpose of each human life, mine included." Another person said, "This isn't some sort of waiting room for heaven, but rather in life we are to be good stewards of the message of the gospel as well as the physical world around us." Someone else wrote, "Putting aside the coronavirus politics, belief in God and an afterlife is actually the only thing that gives any purpose or value to life. If there is no God, we have no more value or purpose than a pile of sand. If there is no afterlife, then our lives are simply a zero sum." Now, a few atheists also took exception to Pinker's comment, writing, "It's easy to be critical of those who wish to reopen the economy when one has a guaranteed high-paying job and no children." This from an author and professor at Concordia University, a self-described atheist himself. Perhaps some theory of mine might allow us to empathize with those who are going bankrupt and feeding their children oxygen. Pinker, an atheist, is known for controversial statements and positions. In 2005, he told Time magazine that religion has given us stonings, inquisitions, and 9/11. Faith, he is quoted as saying, is believing something without good reason to do so. In 1997, he wrote an article for the New York Times magazine arguing that the killing of a newborn baby is less controversial and should be judged less severely than the killing of an older child. The right to life must come, the moral philosophers say, from morally significant traits that we humans happen to possess. One such trait is having a unique sequence of experiences that defines us as individuals and connects us to other people. Apparently, these newborn children don't have that. Other traits include an ability to reflect upon ourselves as a continuous locus of consciousness, to form and savor plans for the future, to dread death, and to express the choice not to die. And therein lies the rub. Our immature neonates don't possess these traits any more than mice do. Meaning we must be carefully taught if we are to believe in God. Is that true? Did you know everyone has a God consciousness? Not that they understand the one true God of the universe, but they do understand the God concept. They routinely take the Lord's name in vain when upset over how things happen. They give God credit for catastrophes. It's an act of God. They use God's name in their worst epithets. They call out to God when faced with shocking or fearful events. Made a movie about it. Oh God. And when faced with horrible death, everybody thinks of God. In his explanation, Pinker considers small children. Young children, he says, do not have the ability to reflect upon themselves in terms of a continuous locus of consciousness, to form and savor plans for the future, to dread death, to express the choice not to die. And therein lies the rub. Our immature neonates do not have these traits, and neither does any other life form at these very young ages. But consider, very young children express fear. The fear of falling is built into them. They have a fear of getting hurt once having been hurt. They have a fear of being left alone. They do savor plans for the future. However, not a very far off future in many cases. They do not know what death is, nor do they understand painful consequences unless you teach them. They understand the painful consequence they receive when you pinch them. They just don't realize that's happening to other people when they do it. And they don't understand responsibility, nor do they fear poisons. Probably because they can't read. Our Harvard professor is confusing the issue, and he's doing it purposely. I don't think he's doing it ignorantly, which is the only other possibility. He is, after all, an academic. So my vote is for the purposeful. These are the ways God haters and man lovers tend to define things they don't fully understand. It isn't that they cannot. This one's fairly smart and well educated, and the issues are very basic. It's just that they mustn't. For if they do, they'll be forced to consider their own responsibility. And the natural man cannot afford to do that. For if he does, he will be forced to consider the alternatives, a list which is greatly limited. The only alternatives are, there is no God, or there is, and he is a holy God, and you can't fool him. If there's no God, I can do as I please for probably at least 75 years. If there is a God, I can do as I please for at least 75 years and then pay the piper. The unbeliever pays the piper too. He or she just doesn't believe they're doing it or that it will happen. But what if it does? By the time they learn the truth, it'll be too late. What do you lose in living a godly lifestyle? Well, you would lose cirrhosis of the liver. You would lose 3 expensive marriages, 2 divorces. You would probably miss out on a sexually communicated disease or 2. You wouldn't have a pile of guilt or recrimination or any of those negative kinds of things. Is that so terrible? Our Harvard professor wrote, quote, "The right to life must come," the moral philosophers say, "from morally significant traits that we humans happen to possess." One such trait is having a unique sequence of experiences that defines us as individuals and connects us to other people. Other traits include an ability to reflect upon ourselves as a continuous locus of consciousness, to form and savor plans for the future, to dread death, and to express the choice not to die. And therein lies the rub. Our immature neonates don't possess any of these traits. They don't possess them any more than mice do. But they will. And this professor will as well, as he draws his last breath and sees what awaits him. Many people have given testimony of this fact both ways. Believers who pass into afterlife in peace with smiles or fervent staring off into the distance, as my own mother did, looking past me to something I couldn't see. And the unbelievers who go screaming into the afterlife. You can get a great education at Harvard, just not apparently in theology, nor, as it turns out, in common sense. Russ, yeah, veneration of icons. Got a headache trying to read it. I'm kind of stalling for the next one because the computer's hung up. I don't know if it's a computer or it's the website I'm using to record all this, but it's just sort of hanging there. In the past, I have shut it down and started it up again, but I'm not going to do that tonight if I don't have to, because I realized at some point that it just takes care of itself. But it better take care of itself soon. Okay. Not doing it, people. I'm having a mess with these people. This is Ustream.tv. It's been bought out by imbd.com, I think it is. If you have a Netflix account, when the movies come up, that's what it says, or anything really. IMBD. That's who owns this thing now. And we've been fussing back and forth for 2 months over $107 that they say I owe them. And I agree I owe them. But they won't leave it alone. All I've said is, because they take the money from my credit card. That's how they do the billing. And they did that in February twice. And I thought, that's got to be a mistake. So I got a hold of my credit card company and said, I'm disputing that account. I'm not paying that one. Well, since that time, they want that $107 back. Take it. Apparently they can't. And they have asked me for all kinds of information, which I have provided them. I have asked them for all kinds of information. I just keep going back to the same thing. This is the story. This is all it is. And they just keep, somebody else writes to me, and we go round and round in circles. So I'm looking at something else. I'm looking at Vimeo to record the videos. I just have to be sure that with Vimeo you can access it live while it's going on. And it's a lot cheaper. But I haven't had time. Hopefully this week I'll have time to play with Vimeo and see how it works. Okay. Olga, this is still Ustream, darling. Yeah, we haven't gotten rid of Ustream yet. I'm going to reboot, I'm going to refresh, and that's probably going to kick you out. But don't lose heart, you'll come back. I'll come back, and I hope you do too. Ready?